Commander, stand by to eject the core.
Prepare to eject the warp core. Authorization ECH Omega 42.
We've got to eject the core!
Ejection systems offline.
Warp ejection system enabled. Eject the core.
Eject the core. Eject the warp core.
Computer, eject the warp core.
I just did.
Eject the Core!
Welcome to episode 5 of Eject the Core, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt.
I'm Jeff. This is 5 already?
This is episode 5, yeah.
Wow. Crazy. I thought we
Right.
were on 4 for some reason.
No, it's only been almost a year, and we've got...
We had a hiatus there for a while, yeah.
Right, there was that time dilation episode.
That's true. Yeah. But we're back in the Prime universe. In the current timeline, and we got another episode for you. This time we are laying out. This is something that I used to do when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I would do it with all sorts of different things, like X-Men. Like what would be my ideal X-Men team?
So I don't know, like I maybe I just didn't have that much of an imagination, but for me, because like when I was a kid, it was pretty much just the next generation. So
Oh sure.
So for
Sure.
me, like that's all it was, and those are all the toys that I had. So like that was my crew, and it was
Right.
mostly just like, the four. Like I think we had like Geordi, Data, Riker, and Picard, and that was like all that we had.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe we had Worf at some point, but like I don't.
Oh, for like the action figures.
Yeah.
We only have one action figure now, and it's Tom Paris.
Oh yeah. Oh
Threshold,
right.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this should be displayed.
Yeah, Tom Paris should be out here with us.
I know.
Oh, man.
I don't remember where I think I put him somewhere in the living room.
I thought he was sitting on like I thought you had him like on the cork board bulletin board. I thought that's the last place I saw him.
Oh yeah, I don't know. So I bought. We're on a tangent already, but I bought off of eBay.
Yeah, this is gonna be the shortest episode.
Yeah, I bought off of eBay. In the pack, Tom Paris as the Space Lizard from the Threshold episode, and yeah, I opened it right away.
Oh, that's right. It was on the cork board before it got opened. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know where it
the
is
action
now.
figures. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we were drinking and watching something. We were probably watching Star Trek, but you were like, "Oh, that's it." And no, I think we were watching Doom Patrol, maybe, but doesn't matter what we were watching. But
yeah.
You were like, "I'm getting the Space Lizard babies out." Oh, that reminds me, I've got a meme to show you later. So.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we also have some beautiful props, care of our friend Timmer. So if you are watching this on the video version, you'll be able to see that.
Thank you, Timmer.
Yeah, thank you very much. And if you're, for some reason, stuck with only the audio version, you can always go to patreon.com/ejectthecore. And for $1 a month, you get the video version of this podcast. What is this? They left the kids, Tom. I thought we agreed to pretend not to remember. I miss their little flippers. Me too, catfish. Oh, my God. So you're going to have to make sure you after we're done recording, you send that to me so I can put it up on both the free and the Patreon versions. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's pretty good.
We talk about that episode a lot. So after that long tangent, our episode today is picking our ideal bridge crew from all properties of Star Trek, all of them. And mine are very narrowed down, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, like I said, when I was a kid, I used to do when I would nerd out with my friends. It was like picking the best superhero team, or who would win in a fight, or blah blah blah, like that kind of thing. And so this is very nostalgic for me going through.
I had maybe a couple cousins that were into this kind of stuff with me, but for the most part, like nobody that I knew was as into this stuff as I was. So
Sure.
like there wasn't like talking to my friends about it. Maybe my little brother and maybe like one or two of my cousins, but mostly it was just me. So
yeah, I was definitely more into it than most people.
Sure.
So,
yeah. That would explain, probably why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, Takes a certain type of person to be this into Star Trek.
It does. It really does. So the basic idea behind it is we're going to go back and forth, starting from the top, and we're going to say who would fill the position, why we think they'd be awesome, and then some of our favorite moments from them, and an open discussion like while we're doing this.
Right.
You know, like we can take our time a little bit. The categories were captain, first officer, science officer. Then you get to pick either tactical or security. Then you get to pick either helms or comm, then engineer, then doctor, and then wild card. Just random wild card, and that's just the basic idea. That's our format, and that's how we're gonna do it. It's funny. So when we were picking, what was it, our the worst episodes ever, I had like printed out like big, huge notes and everything, and you only had like a few notes, whereas this time, I have absolutely no notes except just my list and like the episodes, and I didn't write anything else. I mean, I took the time and I really thought about it, but it's all off the cuff for me. For you actually have notes.
Yeah, so I sat down and I wrote notes, but I will say that like I would say that this time you have a lot more prepared. Like I've got a lot of notes, but
Sure.
like you went. I feel like you probably went a little bit more in depth than I did. I'm playing it a little bit more.
Fast and loose.
Right. I was like, okay, this is what it is. It's not a whole lot, but like here we go. And so
Matt's like the Maverick of Star Trek podcasts. You know?
right. Every time it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in and we'll wing it, and I'll talk about something, and then obviously there's always something in the comments that like that guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Although if I really think about it, I really feel like you're more Tom Cruise and I'm more Val Kilmer. I'm definitely Iceman. Yeah.
And I'm Maverick.
Yeah.
I can see that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
we're gonna start here with Jeff's pick for captain, and
Okay.
let's just get into it.
Sure. Yeah, I thought about captain for a really long time because I wanted to basically craft my bridge crew around the captain. And I think
So after not to interrupt, especially since we're just getting started, but you did say something about that to me about how they work together, and that really made me think about it. And so like after, because I had picked my captain, and then I picked who I wanted as my first officer, and then I went back and thought about it based on what you said, and I was like, whoa, I've got to rearrange my bridge crew to be able to actually work together well.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
I kind of did the same thing just based on what you had said. So
Okay, that's interesting. I thought about it a lot. The first four captains, well, not counting Pike, but Kirk, Picard, Sisko, and Janeway are all fantastic choices. I don't like Archer. I've never liked Archer. I think he's actually the weakest point of Enterprise, even though there are lots of things about Enterprise I love. But I had to make a firm decision. My first love of captain really was Picard, and he was my favorite for a really long time. But when I thought about the kind of bridge crew that I would want, I settled on Janeway. Yeah, I settled on Janeway for very, very specific reasons. Picard is more of a diplomat. Kirk is more of a maverick, and Sisko is a good administrator, and then he ultimately is a very good war hero. But as far as an all-around, well-rounded Federation captain, I think that Janeway really takes it, especially because the experiences that she went through, having zero backup for 7 years, really that showcases for me all of the qualities that are important in a Federation captain. That also kind of gets colored badly because of how crazy she apparently goes in an alternate timeline and at the end of Voyager.
Sure.
But honestly,
well, but obviously, and then at the end of that episode, that timeline gets completely reset. So you can
Right.
say that that doesn't matter. So
it's extenuating
right,
circumstances.
exactly,
For sure.
The Janeway that we have now in the Prime universe, whatever we actually call that these days,
Right.
is not that Janeway. So I don't think we have to worry about.
And she
that.
also goes on to have a full-blown career in Starfleet,
Right.
which is interesting because you have Kirk, who was a captain. Then he went to Admiral, and he just could not crack it as an Admiral. He
just couldn't handle it.
He's a loose you're a loose cannon, Malone.
I need your badge and your gun.
Yes.
Give me your comm badge and your phaser.
Then Picard, as we found out later in the interesting show, Picard did go on to become an Admiral, and he also
Couldn't cut it as an Admiral.
was not effective as an Admiral. He was extremely emotional. Cisco we never got to see because he's
He turned
half
into a
god.
god, yeah.
Yep. And then Janeway, but Janeway actually becomes a vice admiral, and I think that's the last time we find out anything about her career.
Yeah, we get to see her give Picard orders, which is pretty cool.
Yes, that's really fascinating.
Yeah,
you know?
she made admiral before Picard did. So
Well, I mean, there's been some like rumors here and there that Picard totally could have made admiral faster. But,
right, I'm sure that after that conversation he had with Kirk, that he probably waited as long as he possibly could to.
Sure.
So
So my favorite episode of hers, there are actually a lot. And I was really torn between a few of them, but ultimately I settled on, and it's a favorite of ours as well, the two-parter Year of Hell.
man, such a great episode.
I would argue Year of Hell is one of the greatest stories ever told in Star Trek at all.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good.
Man, that's hard for me to base picking your captain off of that, because like I think that there are some things that she did in Year of Hell that like I don't really agree with.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. And there are questionable decisions that she's made here and there that don't really gel too much with why I liked her. But what I really enjoyed about it the most, there's a very specific scene, and it's where her first officer, Chakotay, brings to her this necklace that he had replicated months and months and months ago.
Yeah.
And she tells him to recycle it. And he's
Yep.
like, but this is a gift. And she's like, that could be a hypo spray. That could be a pair of boots. We are in a crisis, and I will give up everything to make sure that we survive one more day. Very, very strong performance, and I really liked that. The other one that was interesting was one called Night, and in that, you see her failing as a in strength as a person, because she has trouble enduring this like overarching blackness that they're traveling through. But in the end, even with her going through such a crisis, she's willing to sacrifice herself for her crew. I'm going to take care of this, and you guys leave me behind. She's always shown the characteristics of noble sacrifice, which I think are incredible. And that's why I like her so much.
Sure, absolutely.
And she likes coffee.
She does. She really likes coffee. There's coffee in that nebula.
Yeah.
So.
All right, who was your captain?
All right. Well, my captain, which it's funny because as you were talking about the captain choices for you said obviously not the captain that I picked, which was Captain Pike.
Ah, interesting. I just didn't even consider Pike.
Yeah. So, well, I feel like if you take, obviously there was the Jeffrey Hunter stuff from the original pilot.
Sure.
The Cage, and then there was also the revisit of that with
Discovery.
No.
There's
I cannot remember the original series episode where
the Menagerie.
Is it the Menagerie?
Yeah. That's because so the original episode in the pilot, I can't remember the name of it, but in the Menagerie, Spock is on trial.
Right, because he steals the Enterprise to take. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm not really basing my choice on Pike on Jeffrey Hunter at all.
Sure.
So in my opinion, those episodes do little, like the original pilot does really little to differentiate Pike from Kirk.
Sure.
And I think a lot of that is because it was a pilot, and because some of that character ended up becoming Kirk.
From
the original
absolutely.
pilot.
Absolutely.
My basis is mostly off of the Anson Mount and Bruce Greenwood performances.
Yeah.
So Bruce Greenwood from the 2009 Star Trek movie, and then the follow-up Into Darkness. I didn't like much from Into Darkness. I liked the first movie; it was okay, but I would say that Pike was a highlight for me for both of those movies.
Yeah.
And then Anson Mount did really, really good in season 2 of Discovery. I think that he was, again, one of the best things in something that was, not easy to find enjoyable things in. So
Sure, yeah.
I would say that my biggest reason for picking Pike is so he reminds me of the best manager that I've had in any job I've ever had.
Interesting.
I worked almost for 10 years at a car dealership, and the manager that I had there was the most positive manager I've ever had. He found ways to motivate people in a way that, like, it found like he was seeing the best in you and like kind of motivated you to work better. And I see those same kind of qualities in Pike, in his captaining. When he's on the bridge, especially in Discovery, like he goes through and like he makes sure that his crew knows that like, yeah, I'm invested in you, and like you're Starfleet, we can get the best out of you. Those are the kind of qualities I think that like he really knows how to find a way to get the most out of his crew. From what I've seen.
What's really interesting too is like you showed me some of those Star Trek shorts that have been put out recently,
right?
And there was the one where he was doing the test of a crewman's character, and it was fantastic. I was blown away by it. I'm actually excited for Brave New Worlds, which I never thought I'd really be excited for the new
Is
Trek.
it Strange New Worlds or Brave New Worlds?
I don't know.
I thought it was Strange.
I think
New
it's
Worlds.
Strange.
Yeah,
I think it's it's Strange New Worlds.
So.
I'm actually excited for it just simply because of the gravitas that Anson Mount brings to it. So.
I said he's the kind of captain that sees the potential in every officer that serves under him, and I think leadership like that is how you get the best out of the people that you have working for you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what's interesting about both of our two picks before we continue is like they both they do something that, like, for instance, Picard doesn't do. Like they are very much involved in their crew.
Right.
Whereas Picard would dictate down.
Right. Picard, you can tell that like it's a working hierarchy that's literally by the book system kind of deal. And that's probably the reason, like that's why I kind of shied away from Picard, because like that's great if you have like literally the very, best. I mean, he's on the flagship, so obviously that's the kind of environment, those are the kind of officers that you're going to get.
Right.
But if you're, and I mean, technically I guess Pike was on the flagship too, but just different captaining styles, and I think that that's kind of what I would prefer if I was a captain, or if I was that's the kind of captain that I would be serving under. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, so, I like that. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Do you have some favorite moments?
Again, the short trek that you talked about, I thought that was really good. I liked the way that he encouraged, like maybe the story wasn't great in the 2009 movie, maybe some of it was contrived, but like the way that he encouraged Kirk, the way that he kind of like dared him to like, come on, you can be better than this. Like I really like that kind of stuff where he's motivating people and encouraging them to be better than what they're doing.
I like this. So you have daddy issues, I have mommy issues. No, I'm just kidding.
So yeah, let's get real psychological into this.
No, I think that's a great pick. I think that's a really cool pick. And I didn't even really, when you started talking about it, I started obviously thinking about Strange New Worlds. But then, bringing up, and I started thinking about the Star Trek movies, the J.J. Abrams ones, which are faulty, but there are some really amazing things in it, and that's a really great part of it, is his interaction with Kirk. Without that, was it Chris Pine is his name?
Yep.
Without that, I think Chris Pine would not really be as relatable.
Right.
That really kind of encapsulates the whole feeling of the movie.
Yeah, and that whole Pike serving under George Kirk in the movies, I think that was a really good writing decision as well, because that kind of linked him. That was like, oh, this guy, I've got daddy issues, and he knew my daddy, so like he could be my surrogate daddy. As we're getting into the psychological side of it. So.
Well, I mean, we're really telling on ourselves with some of our picks, maybe.
Right? Who knows?
We'll see.
So, anyway.
Okay, I guess we're on to First Officer.
We are. Yep.
So First Officer was a tough one. Because when it comes down to it, First Officer also sometimes takes over other positions. Sometimes the First Officer is also this officer or that officer or whatever. Sure. So it was a tough call, and I have to cough. Excuse me. It's a tough call. So you've got Spock, Riker, Kira, Chakotay, and then T'Pol. Right?
Well, and let's not forget, we've got other Star Treks as well.
Oh, yeah.
Discovery's on the table. So Saru, Michael Burnham.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then I don't even know who else. I guess there's Lower Decks. So you've got
Ransom. Yeah,
right?
True.
Then,
yep, didn't pick that. Nope.
Yeah, and then I don't think that Prodigy has a First Officer yet. So.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah. So that was a tough one. I'm not.
Oh, and Raffi wasn't Raffi Picard's first officer?
Yeah, I guess so.
Did you pick Raffi, Jeff?
I did not. I did not.
I didn't even know Raffi was available. Damn it!
Yeah.
Gotta change my list real quick.
And it's been interesting too because usually the first officers are sometimes like my least favorite. Like I'm not a big fan of Kira, even though some of my favorite scenes ever in DS9 have Kira in them. Overwhelmingly, most Kira stuff I'm not that big into. I can't stand Chakotay.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not a big fan of Chakotay. Kira's okay. I really wish, like, I found out a while back that when they were trying to launch DS9, that they wanted the actress who played Ro Lauren.
Yeah.
They wanted her in the part that Kira ended up in, and I guess she didn't want to commit to another series. She had other stuff going on, but I think that if Ro would have been the first officer on Deep Space Nine, I would have been probably a lot more invested in it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. I think that she would have.
It might have been a hook to really get you into it. Yeah.
But Kira does okay. I think she's all right.
So I picked Riker. Because I feel like Riker works really well with Janeway. Did you pick Riker?
I did pick Riker.
You did pick Riker? Okay. Cool. So we can just have it like an open discussion about it, and then we'll talk about our favorite moments. So I think Riker works really, really well because not only Riker liked his job. He liked his job so much and the position that he was in that he maintained that position and put off advancement because he was more dedicated to the actual mission and what was happening and his crewmates than his own advancement. I think that's really important. He had a singular motivation towards duty. In fact, can you think of a time when he failed in a not failed in a duty like it just didn't work, but like he faltered?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I'm sure that if I actually tried and
I was really trying to think about it.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head though. So
yeah.
I was like when I picked Riker, I was thinking, you need a first officer that's going to balance out your captain. And while I think that Pike is a fairly by the books captain, he's definitely not the by the books degree that Picard is.
Sure.
But I really feel that you need a first officer who's going to balance that out. And Riker is a little bit more roguish. He's not like a rogue necessarily. He's definitely Starfleet, but when it comes to getting the job done, there's definitely times where Riker will step out of the line of the rules sometimes.
Sure,
to get things taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that he would be a good a good balance for Pike. And that's kind of the reason that I picked him personally.
Okay. Yeah.
So
one of the things I was considering too when I was thinking about first officers is, so Janeway is battle hardened, but she's not necessarily. She doesn't necessarily have the battle mentality, whereas Riker has consistently proven over and over and over again to be a brilliant military strategist. Brilliant. There's a maneuver named after him, for fuck's sake.
Right.
And very, very commonly in TNG and then also in the TNG movies, Picard would off be doing something stupid. And Riker is in charge and has to take the ship into battle and is consistently good and consistently puts it out. Also,
except for that one time where he let a 50-year-old Klingon bird of prey blow up the flagship.
Did that happen?
Generations.
Oh no.
But anyway,
I think I drank that movie out of my memory.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. He was the one in command when the Enterprise got blown up.
Extenuating circumstances. That doesn't count.
That was the movies. Yeah, they did that shit for. They wanted to build a new one.
I mean, and
it was probably an inside job.
Riker saved the day against an entire fleet of Romulans as they were staring down giant space flowers.
With his copy-paste ships.
With his copy-paste ships at the last episode of Picard. Spoiler alert. Anyways.
I think that he's... where am I at on my little... I got to go back and read my paragraph that I wrote out here. So yeah, he's He's intelligent, stoic, dutiful, but he knows when to break the rules if need be. So when I was growing up, watching The Next Generation, I'd say that Riker was definitely my favorite character. Even if overall he's not my favorite first officer in all of Star Trek, but I was therefore a little bit hesitant to pick him. But I think that in this instance, with Captain Pike and even with Captain Janeway, I would say that he's the best pick for the job.
Okay. It's kind of interesting too because like when they were making TNG, they wanted to make Riker like the main character. You remember that?
Yeah. Because that's why they made the rule that the captain couldn't leave the ship.
Right.
On away missions.
And then they just proceeded to break that.
Then they
all
broke
the
that rule
time.
whenever they wanted.
So like in the first series, because I watched all of TNG as it came out as a little kid. Riker was my favorite too. Riker and also Data, because I was like, it's a robot.
Yeah, absolutely, Data.
Yeah, and it was really only until like later seasons where I was like, hey, Picard's the man.
Mm-hmm.
And now, as I'm much older, and the Picard show happened, I really, really appreciate Riker. My notable like scenes and episodes, my favorite Riker episode, hands down, is A Matter of Honor.
Which one is that?
So that is one where Riker has to. It's an exchange. It's a cultural exchange. So he goes and serves on a Klingon ship.
Oh right, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I remember that. That was a great episode.
That was a great episode. He has to like stand his own against a whole ship, and ends up in command at the end of the episode. And even at the end of the episode, helps to save face for the Klingon captain, and like just understands everything so well. Brilliant episode. What about you?
Man, it's really hard for me to pick favorite moments. Again, especially because he's my favorite character. There were so many Riker focused moments. I always love to say that like the Royale is one of my favorite episodes.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah, like I said, it's every moment that he's in that like he makes those decisions that you're like, damn. That's a really good call. So
Only Riker could come up with the idea like, okay, we're stuck in a holographic simulation done by aliens based on a trashy novel. How do we get out of it? I know. Let's cheat at gambling.
Yeah, exactly. we've got a robot here that can count cards. What are we doing?
And crush the dice. Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. The other one that I have in parentheses was First Contact, only because he literally had to fuck himself out of a situation. Because he was
the episode First Contact. See, anytime I hear First
yeah.
Contact, because that's my
you think
favorite.
it's
That's
the
one of my favorite
movie,
Star Trek
yeah.
movie. That's what my head goes to. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What did he? No.
No.
See, well, and going on to favorite moments, then like I would say First Contact the movie, because like he goes down and like he has to take control of like one of Earth's most historic moments, and he's like,
Sure.
He's like, how are we gonna do this that like doesn't fuck up humanity?
And I have to wrangle a drunk Zephyr Cochrane.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, in the episode First Contact in TNG, he's dressed as an alien, and like I think the alien that he has to have sex with in order to escape was Julia Louis-Dreyfus, if I'm not mistaken.
Nope.
No, who was that?
It was it was Lilith from Cheers, the woman who plays Frasier's wife.
That's right. Yeah. It wasn't Elaine. It was Frasier's wife.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so funny.
Right. Yep.
Wow.
So all right. Well, so now we are on to science officer.
Science officer.
All right.
Yeah.
You're up first.
So mine was Spock.
Nice.
Yeah.
Classic.
Is yours?
No.
Okay. So I chose Spock because I couldn't choose him as first officer, and Spock is one of my favorite characters of all time. I think that Spock has a brilliant analytical mind. I did not choose someone like, say, Data, right? Because I wanted... As much as Data is a fantastic science officer, in fact, most of the science officers that are available, like Jadzia Dax, they're all brilliant. And for some reason, they all have these incredible minds and capacities.
Yep.
I chose Spock largely because I like him the most, but...
Because out of all the souls that you've known.
His is the most human. Because he's always been one of my favorite characters, and because he his appearance into Star Trek invented techno speech, right?
Yeah.
It invented the
Technobabble, yeah.
Yeah. He's routinely and repeatedly throughout the original series displayed an incredible aptitude for science, but also when it comes to certain acts of diplomacy as well. Later, Spock is less focused in that. When his appearances in TNG, he becomes more of a diplomat. The movies, he's more of a diplomat. He's one of the few people who's ever died and been resurrected.
Yeah.
Kind of dug that, kind of into that sort of thing.
Although that's starting to become more common in Star Trek.
Yeah, but you know what? But he invented it.
That's funny.
He's
I've
the
actually,
OG.
So I've got somebody on my list who's died and been resurrected as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually for a while, when I was thinking about my list, I didn't know who I would get to captain, but I considered getting T'Pol as my first officer and then Spock as my science officer, or Spock as my first officer and T'Pol as my, and I'd go just Team Alien.
Yeah, or Team Vulcan.
Team Vulcan or whatever.
I thought about
Team Logic.
So I thought about doing Team Vulcan too.
Did you?
Yeah, I was gonna do Tuvok and T'Pol and Spock.
Oh yeah, and Tuvok. Yeah. Oh man, that would be really funny.
Right.
Yeah, as many aliens as possible.
And then I also thought about Team Hot Girl. So where you've got
sure
T'Pol and Jadzia and 7 of 9 and find a way to throw Troy in there.
Sure.
So
Janeway
with Janeway as the captain, obviously.
Kate Mulgrew is a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Get team girl power. That'd be great.
Right.
Yeah. So Spock, I love Spock. And one of the main reasons why I was super into wanting to do Spock was because of one of my favorite Spock episodes, which is one of the ones that I was thinking about. And it really exemplifies why Spock is a really good choice, especially when it comes to an away mission or being in a bit of a crisis. So there's an episode called City on the Edge of Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Basically,
that's the one where they're with the Kirk's girlfriend and Hitler and stuff. Is that the one?
It's not Hitler.
Oh.
It's not the World War II one, but they get thrown back in time.
Right.
And they're thrown back in time, and Spock has to make a radio out of basically some people say it's sticks and twigs, but it's very, very, primitive technology, resistors and vacuum tubes and shit. And he's trying to do that, and they're trying to maintain the timeline. And it's one of the very first real in-depth time travel Trek episodes, and it's brilliant. It's a brilliant episode, and they come to realize that the woman that Kirk has fallen in love with has to die in an accident, because if not, her involvement in basically civil rights, it's a cascade effect, a butterfly effect, will lead to absolute disaster. And so this wonderful person that Kirk has fallen in love with has to die. He knows she's going to die. It's totally by accident, but has to die. And the way Spock addresses it and talks with Jim and basically logics the way that this has to happen. It is the way that has to happen. It is for the greater good. I think is really good for a science officer, especially given I have very emotional captain and first officer.
Right.
And so I need that cold logic that is purely on, numbers and calculation, and that's why I chose Spock.
That's a good way to balance out your crew there. That's a good choice.
Because he'd be second officer, and that's
Right.
that's the top three.
Yeah, so my science officer, I chose Jadzia Dax.
Good choice.
Yeah, so not only is she a capable science officer, but she's a vibrant soul, and her presence seems to lift the collective mood of any room that she's in.
Okay.
So I think that's always a good thing to have, because and obviously she knows when to be serious, but she's a very lighthearted person. But she also has the advantage of having 8 lifetimes worth of experience to draw from.
Very true.
And I think that is something that can be invaluable in a science officer. In that way, I think that the Trill are almost like a smaller version of Cuisart Hatterax.
Okay, there's a Dune reference
Yeah,
in
there's
there.
there's
yeah.
an Easter egg for you.
Yeah.
She helped discover the Bajoran wormhole. That was pretty cool.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
And she shows a genuine love for science.
She does. Yeah, I think that's something that's pretty important too. Like I thought you were gonna pick Data.
Data's. I love Data, but like he's it's a little bit too robotic for me.
I mean he's great at his job, but like there is something. So when you're talking about science, I mean we could even get really deep in like the philosophy of the scientific method, et cetera, that requires something akin to like emotional intelligence. And you could say that Vulcans are stunted in that way, but I don't necessarily think that's entirely true. I think that's really where Jadzia would excel, not only in just knowledge and brilliance, but emotional competence in these
right.
things.
The attachment to like the love of science, basically.
Sure. Yeah. I dig that.
So.
Yeah. Okay. What about favorite moments of Jadzia?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't rewatched DS9 in a long time, so it's kind of hard for me to pick favorite moments. Like I said, I did go back and watch the very first episode, like when they're discovering the wormhole, and I've watched a few episodes here and there. So I really, really love the episode where they go back in time. And they have to save Kirk from
Trouble and Tribbles,
yeah,
Trials
dude,
and Tribulations.
Trials and Tribulations, dude. I love her part in that because she's like so excited and she wants to go meet like the people that she knew in that time period as a different person and everything. I thought that was a really great episode.
That's a great episode.
That's one of my favorite episodes of all of Star Trek.
You know what? I can help sell Jadzia a little bit too because in the episode "He Who Is Without Sin," which we mentioned on our last episode,
that was another one that I have watched recently too.
Get you a girlfriend who will forgive you for wrecking a planetary weather system and try and ruin everybody's vacation.
Right. Yeah. So when your girlfriend is sitting there like getting massaged by another beautiful woman, you don't act like a crybaby and go and like ruin everybody's day.
Just let it happen, dude.
You take off your shirt. And you say, "My muscles are so tight." So
That's
anyway.
fun. Okay. Well, we're on to tactical/security. I did not pick a tactical officer. I picked security.
Okay.
And I picked Odo. I picked Odo because it was I basically like the next two categories are tactical/security or helm/comm. You have to pick one or the other.
Right.
And
there are some officers that do both.
There are some officers that do both. Yeah, like Worf, for instance, does both. There really isn't a tactical officer on the original series.
Yeah, I don't know like who fires torpedoes on the original Enterprise.
Right. And so
it's probably like the operations. Like, wouldn't the con do that? I guess
maybe. Yeah, I'm like I think both Sulu and Chekhov at different points in time maybe did that. You know. But yeah, so I ultimately chose Odo because Odo exemplifies the notion of security so well. He's a well-rounded character. Most of the best episodes with Odo don't really focus too much on that aspect. He's a pivotal character in the Dominion War, dealing with the Founders, et cetera, et cetera. I like Odo the most because despite the fact that he's such a really well-rounded and fleshed out character and a tragic character, that he still maintains this overall sense of duty and relentless pursuit. There are several examples that I can give of him just showing up because he just cannot be stopped. His shape changing obviously is a huge benefit. It allows him to sneak around and spy on things.
Absolutely.
And his sense of justice is really, I think, the core nature of it. Now, you can say that's kind of a cheat because the Founders apparently, like they say it at some point a couple of times in the series, like the Founders naturally have a disposition towards justice and fairness and security, but they don't really play into that further in the series, which is kind of strange. But yeah, I just, in general, he's one of my favorite characters. And despite when he's strong, despite when he's vulnerable, his episodes with Loxana Troy are some of the best episodes ever in Trek.
Yeah, he and we've talked about this before. The two of them had fantastic chemistry on that show.
Incredible. Yeah. Majel Barrett, Renee Auberjonois, like they were fantastic. And they like Roxana Troy was always a fun character, but she was a real character.
Yeah.
After she
one
met
of,
Odo.
one of the realest characters in Star Trek, I would say.
Absolutely. And that also helped bring out
And I think that
Odo.
a lot, yeah, and I think that a lot of that had to do with how long Majel Barrett had been involved with Star Trek 4. This is a woman who was involved with it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Literally married to the creator.
Yeah,
you know?
and I think that with Luoxana, like that character just gave her a chance to just kind of have fun with Star Trek.
Yeah,
it was at
and
that point.
really be involved.
Yeah. So,
which is interesting too, because I mean, her character in the original series had a thing with Spock.
I didn't know that. Nurse
Chapel.
Nurse Chapel.
Yeah, she secretly loved Spock. There was I think 2 times where they had scenes that were very like emotional. And one of them was Amok Time, the whole Panfar episode, you know. So she got a little bit of acting chops in with that, but for the most part, yeah, she never really got a chance to flex. But about Odo,
Yeah.
There are 2 very specific episodes that I like the most when it comes to Odo. One is actually in the first season, which is called Vortex. And Vortex is this guy has a shape-shifting key thing, and he convinces Odo that it's actually a piece of a shapeshifter and that he knows where the shapeshifters are, et cetera, et cetera. And Odo has to do prison transport to get him somewhere to go to jail, effectively. Turns out it's not actually a piece of a changeling. It's actually a key, and he's trying to go and save his daughter who's in stasis. Odo takes pity on them. And it showed a real humanity. I think he still ended up taking the guy to jail, but don't quote me on that. But it is actually a really good episode, despite it being season 1, and it shows a lot of Odo at work being, security, but also having this sense of like care, consideration, and justice. The other one, and it's the tough one, is Things Past. And in that one, it's kind of like a time travel episode where several of the crew and Odo are basically kind of thrown into the past to like see and witness the past, and shows Odo like having to work for the Cardassians. And in that, like, it's a hard episode. It's very troubling, but you do get kind of the sense of like how he is security, how he's minded towards these things, and it also shows how he's not infallible, which I think is very important.
Nice, good choice. So my tactical officer, and it's actually both tactical and security, was Tuvok.
Nice, good choice.
Yeah, so for me, I don't think there was ever any other choice. He's one of the most capable officers I've ever seen on screen, and he embodies what it means to be a Starfleet officer, even being Vulcan.
Despite being Vulcan.
Right. I don't think that I would want to serve on a ship that didn't have at least one Vulcan senior officer on it.
Sure.
Because again, I think that you mentioned it with your last officer. That logic balances out the emotional side of some of the other people, and that's a good balance. He's also one of the longest serving officers in Starfleet.
That's true.
So
That's
he's got that experience. He's got the length of time of seeing like the Federation on a grander scale than some humans can.
Okay.
Having, because he was I think an ensign around the original series movies when they were taking place.
I think that's right. Yeah.
The actor Tim Russ was actually in Generations on the Enterprise B, and in my head canon, because that's such a thing, I always just pretend when I see that scene that he's got pointy ears, and that's actually Tuvok serving on the Enterprise B.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Some of my favorite moments, I would say that really kind of show like what a good officer he is. There's an episode that I watched recently where the Doctor is having daydreams, and it turns out that like somebody has like hacked into his program, and they're using it to spy on Voyager. And it turns out that they, in order to get out of being attacked, they have to put the Doctor in command.
Sure.
And Janeway's talking in the Doctor's ear, and she tells him to do something, and he gives an order that's counter to that to Tuvok, and Tuvok knows. He's like, yeah, that doesn't sound right, but he's got to basically like play along,
improvise.
Yeah, and he does. That was a really good moment. And then in the Lon Suitor episode, where Lon Suitor murders a crewman, and Tuvok's interviewing him, and he's asking him like, why did you do it? And he doesn't like, the answer that he got from Lon Suitor. Like, he really goes to lengths, maybe that I don't necessarily agree with, but he goes to lengths to try to understand the motivation of what caused this to happen. And the reason that he does it is because he's trying to prevent anything like that from happening on the ship. His justification is, if I understand the reasoning, then I can prevent these kinds of things from happening again. So
I thought you were gonna say like your favorite episode is Tuvix.
No.
Oh.
No, that's your favorite episode.
I mean, I agree. There's some pretty amazing Tuvok scenes and some episodes. Some of the episodes, I think that they didn't really give them as much as they could have throughout the years, especially once they got like 7 of 9 on the ship.
Sure,
that's just one of those things that happen.
Right. The more characters you have, like the some of them are going to suffer in development. So.
Sure. Yeah. And like in Year of Hell, he goes blind. At one point, and I think they actually he can manage to still work because they have like a braille interface and shit, and he's just still up there just doing his shit, So that's a good choice. Yeah, Tuvok's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess it's time for Helm/Com. So before I tell you what mine was, let me tell you what I wanted it to be.
Okay.
I wanted it to be Hoshi.
Right, you told me that. And
that's because Hoshi, the character,
she would have been good on Team Girl Power.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think in general the character would be great on any team. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And when the Universal Translator fails, having somebody who can take over for that is pretty amazing. But the thing is, I tried really hard to find episodes that were Hoshi-centric that were good. And
what about the mirror? Well, I guess that's not really actually Hoshi.
It's not really her. Yeah, she's amazing in
that episode. She's really good.
Oh, she's incredible. And I like the actress. I like the actress, but no, that's not really her. There's one called Pax Solana or something like that. And basically, like they get invaded by a cum monster. I'm not kidding. It's like it's just a big wad of sentient cum, and it
interesting.
A bunch of the crew is trapped in the cum. Look, it's real. It's a real episode.
I'll take your word for it. I don't remember it, but I'm not going to go back and search it out. That's for sure.
Hoshi has to figure out how to talk to cum.
Wow.
And
I mean, it's got to be the same as talking to incels, right?
Yeah. And I couldn't find it, but I think that the character itself has really good promise. I considered maybe Uhura, but Uhura never really got any chance to shine,
right? Yeah,
like even in the movies. And so it comes down to
there was that dance she did in.
Oh God, Star Trek 5. Yeah. Let's have
Oh God, that was such a. Oh man. That's one of the reasons that was such a terrible movie.
Man, we're just gonna have to dive deep into Star Trek 5 sometime because it's an adventure, it's an experience.
Anyway.
But anyway, so so I started thinking about Helm, and I just had some trouble with it, and I ultimately settled on Tom Paris.
God, fucking damn it, man!
Is that what you did too?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, Nicholas Lucerno.
Oh, yeah, Nicholas Lucerno.
Yeah.
Cadet First Class,
Nicholas Lucerno.
So,
damn it. Okay, all right.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, I think largely it's entirely based around his ability to pilot.
Right, exactly. That was my choice, too.
100%.
Ultimately, you want the best pilot in the fleet.
Yeah.
And time and again, Tom Paris has proved his ability when it comes to piloting.
That's why they broke him out of jail in the first place.
Absolutely.
In Caretaker.
He developed the Delta Flyer.
Yep.
So I would say that like during Voyager's initial run, Tom Paris was probably my favorite character.
Really?
And maybe that's just because like as an angsty preteen or teenager or whatever I was at the time, that like that's who I could relate to the most. But now going back and rewatching,
Okay.
yeah, he's not exactly. I found him a little bit harder to stomach the second time around as I'm a little older.
A little bit. Yeah.
He's still a good character, but he's got some moments where you're just like, God, man, get it together, like.
There are some, he's very adaptable. He ends up being like a combat nurse out of necessity,
right,
which I think is pretty great.
Yeah.
Um,
So like one of my least favorite moments is the moment in Threshold where Janeway's telling him that the doctor found like an abnormality, and he just like whines at her about how he's the one that's got to do it, and he's the best, and my daddy told me I was special, and
my daddy owns a dealership.
yeah. There's moments like that, and then there's moments where there's the episode where they're taking bets on like some kind of particle count. In the holodeck, and he just kind of comes off as a slime ball,
There's definitely a few of those.
But again, like we didn't pick him because of necessary. Like it comes down to his ability as a pilot,
as a helm, as a pilot. His personality is interesting because you can flick back and forth on Tom Paris. He can be slimy, he can be smarmy, he can be brash and stupid. He can also be pretty noble at times, even if he's making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
The episode that I marked down was 30 Days. And that's the episode where he is in the brig, and he is basically in the brig for 30 days, and he's been demoted back down to ensign. Because remember, like he started out on Voyager as a prisoner,
right? Yeah,
and then
just
he was
like Michael Burnham.
Come on, and then he gets a field commission to ensign, then a field commission to lieutenant, and so he gets knocked down. The reason why was they find this planet that's just a giant ocean, and as they're they're talking to the people who work there, they're doing oxygen harvesting, mining, and shit. And he modifies the Delta Flyer to become a fucking submersible, turns it into a submarine,
right?
And like is flying around near the core of this like compressed water ball planet. It's just the coolest concept, and it also is a good example of his skills. He finds out that they're doing like ecological damage on a huge scale because of their oxygen mining, and then he almost does an eco-terrorism with a member of that race who wants to like forestall and make their machines more bio-green and everything, and shoots like a torpedo at a mining facility.
Oh man.
And Voyager, like they were about to shoot the Delta Flyer, and instead they shoot the torpedo and then get them, and he gets demoted and everything like that. So like he's got this sense of nobility and sense of rightness, even if he's being an idiot,
right?
But he's still managing to pilot the hell out of shit.
Yeah, he's got a roguish side to him, which is a double-edged sword for sure. But I would say that like another good thing about him is he's the son of an admiral. And so it's not bad to have an admiral son on board and have that card in your back pocket if you ever have to play it.
That's true. Hey, I heard your dad owns a dealership.
Exactly, right? Like, why don't you come to work for me?
Oh, man.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, you're referencing fucking... No, okay, you're not referencing Dexter from last night.
No, yeah, we watched Dexter last.
God, that was terrible.
That was the night before. Yeah. So, maybe we should do a review of Dexter.
You know what? We might have to, because that was fucking garbage. Anyway, so now Engineer, is that where we're at?
Yeah, now we're on to Engineer. Now I'm curious if we picked the same Engineer.
Who'd you pick?
I'm pretty confident that we didn't. Pretty confident.
Let's
because
hear it.
I picked Chief O'Brien. You didn't pick Chief O'Brien, did you?
I absolutely did pick Chief
You
O'Brien.
did? I could have sworn you were going to pick Trip.
No, because I was thinking about
Really?
I was thinking about the crew and
Wow.
dude, O'Brien, come on, like he's the one who kept the whole fleet together. Come on, we all know that.
Wow, I
the
could
best
have
officer in
sworn.
Starfleet.
In fact, I did not pick Trip
Because you thought I was going to?
for two reasons. One, I don't actually think he's the best
I
engineer,
don't either.
but also because I was pretty sure you were going to pick it.
Nah. I like Trip.
Trip's
yeah.
one of my favorite characters ever in Star Trek.
I think that I think that O'Brien's career serving on stations and ships make him a better engineer. He was also the chief
Yeah.
engineer for the Defiant, which
Yep.
made him able to go into that category. So that's why I picked him.
100%.
He may be the most racist officer in Starfleet, but he always gets the job done.
I mean, he's a decorated war hero.
Yep.
He always reminded me of like a World War II veteran who just kind of runs his mouth a little bit too much about the Japanese.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Like Cotton Hill. I killed 30 men.
That's right.
Or is it 50 men?
But like it doesn't matter. But in in that time and place where that was the type of person that was needed, like he was
Sure.
there and he got the job done. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he overcame his racial prejudices for the most part too.
Right.
But yeah, so Miles, the Chief O'Brien, the OG,
the goat.
the GOAT. It's you have to kind of compare him to some of the other engineers. Scotty is a legendary engineer. Scotty is incredible, absolutely incredible. He's a miracle worker because he cheats, but
Right.
he's a miracle worker. He is still brilliant. Then you've got Geordi, and Geordi is brilliant as well, but he's just brilliant.
He reminds me of somebody who's very book smart but has like no common sense when it comes to like street smarts.
Right. He's usually only ever working on high-end Federation technology. Then you go into Voyager B'Elanna, pretty much kind of the same thing. She's still smart.
Yeah, she like her temper can get in the way too.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. And she was Maquis. She wasn't really Starfleet,
Right. Not that I wouldn't hold that against her. I mean, she was definitely I think that she was my runner up. Like if I hadn't picked O'Brien,
That's
I
just
probably
because you
would've-
have a huge boner for B'Elanna.
Whatever, dude. She's hot. Like I love that angry persona that she's got too. I'm like,
True,
yeah,
true.
hit me, baby, hit me.
Yeah, no, okay, that's fair. And then Trip, which Trip is an amazing character. You never really see him be like an awesome engineer.
Right.
But over and over and over,
You're told that he's a good engineer.
yeah, you're told that he's a good engineer. Yeah, sure. And like he knows his engine, and that's fine, but like that's like the difference of working on like, a Model T
Exactly. Yeah,
versus,
that's
like
what I'm gonna say. You're gonna take an engineer who designed the Model T Ford back in 1900 and put them in a 2022 Tesla.
Oh, not comparing to Miles O'Brien. It'd be like comparing to somebody
Like a
who's
1988.
who's taking
Honda
like a Japanese supercar and making it work with like the chassis of like a Ford Mustang or
Right.
some
Exactly.
shit. Because that's the thing. That's what really makes him such a good engineer. Is not only that he's just brilliant at what he does with Federation stuff, but he's doing all of this on a busted, broken down Cardassian space station.
Right. He's making technologies from different races have to work together, and which is a pretty good feat when it comes to engineering. So.
Right. And the other thing that I really liked about Chief O'Brien is that he's a non-com, which we
a
like.
non-commissioned officer. Yeah,
They never
don't-
really talked about
they
that.
don't talk about it very much. Yeah.
Right. They don't really talk about that in Star Trek very often because
What I liked is that in the episode of The Next Generation, when Worf's parents come to visit, his human
Rashenkos,
parents,
yeah.
the Rashenkos, his father was a non-commissioned transporter chief, and he like hit it off with O'Brien. I thought that was really
Yep.
cool.
Yep, it's really really cool. And I came from a military family.
Me too. My parents were both non-commissioned.
Yep, my dad too. And like that is a thing.
Yeah.
That is absolutely a thing.
So
So my favorite O'Brien episode actually is an episode called Whispers. And in Whispers, Miles Chief O'Brien, jeez, I keep doing that, is noticing that there's like really weird shit going on around the station, and it's really troubling. And it seems like there are things that are wrong with his friends and like some of the other officers and shit. So as he's investigating, like they're starting to get kind of paranoid. He ends up he's convinced that like there is something that's taken over the station, or that those aren't really his friends for some reason, because they seem to be going after him. Like his wife is acting weird. His kid he can't play with his kid, and they won't let him near any sensitive systems. So he valiantly tries to like escape so he can warn everybody, and it turns out that he is a direct replica. He's a clone. But the thing that's fascinating about it, and you find this out at the end of the episode, and like he's looking at the original Chief O'Brien as this clone robot thing is dying. But it's a perfect copy. And that's what's really interesting is that with Chief O'Brien thrusted, like if the real Chief O'Brien was put into that situation, he'd do the exact same thing. And he manages to outsmart everybody. He outsmarts every single person on DS9, manages to escape, and his main impulse is still like to do this valiant deed to get out and share the word.
I wonder if that's where they got the idea for the movie Moon with Sam Rockwell, because it sounds pretty similar.
I have never seen that.
Oh, dude, you've got to watch it. It's so good.
Spoiled now.
It's not spoiled, but anyway.
What about you?
I guess it kind of is. So I don't necessarily have like favorite moments of him being an engineer, but I have favorite O'Brien moments. Like I said, the Rishenko moment was one of them. There is the episode where he like lives as a prisoner in his mind, and then like he comes back to Deep Space Nine, and it's only been like a week or so that he's been missing, but like in his head it's been, I don't remember what the amount of time was.
Oh God!
And he's got like post-traumatic stress from it and everything. Like that was a really good episode.
That was a fantastic
episode.
episode.
The episode where he's got to confront his prejudices against the Cardassians and work with them, like that was another good episode. So just a lot of good O'Brien development for sure.
Yeah, so. He's one of the better characters ever made for Star Trek. And you know the thing is too, I'm just so happy. I'm still to this day, every time I think about Chief O'Brien, I'm just so happy for Cole Meany because you know, he was like a bit player in TNG.
Right.
And he ended up being able to play like one of the best fucking characters ever written.
Absolutely.
In Trek.
And I would say that out of maybe not all the Star Trek actors, but out of a lot of them, like he went on to have, you know, a pretty successful acting career.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. He was in a bunch of movies and like he still gets parts now.
Yep. So
yeah. Well,
who was your doctor, Jeff?
The EMH.
The EMH. I'm not surprised by that at all. It's your favorite character in all of Voyager. So
that is my favorite character in all of Voyager. Yes. That's not your favorite doctor?
As far as favorite doctors, probably.
But that's not who you picked for your crew.
Who I picked now.
Okay.
No.
So the EMH, it's kind of a cheat because effectively the EMH has the doctoring capabilities of the entirety of Starfleet Medical Database
at the time that he was programmed.
However, I legitimately believe that he is a huge asset to the crew because the development that takes place with him and through the trials and strife that he has to achieve really gains beyond his own programming a true sense of like what it means to be a compassionate healer.
Sure.
And that you get to see that happen over the span of the Voyager mission is pretty fantastic. In fact, like there's a few episodes where he has to deal with the concept that maybe he might become obsolete, which is something that human beings don't usually have to think about in the same way. I mean, we kind of do because we get old. But like he finds out that his program...
at least until AI takes over.
Yeah, or we become immortal when either is good with me.
Right.
He finds out that his program back on Earth is now used to mine dilithium. Like they don't even use them as doctors anymore. And now it's like an Andy Dick holographic doctor.
Right.
I mean, like it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Anyway, so yeah, and I think that those things really give him a clear distinction of character. But he's a very competent and interesting doctor. He's not the most creative or ingenuitive. There are other doctors that are way better at it than that. But I in general really, really like it. My favorite episode with him actually is one that you already referenced. It's actually titled Tinker Tenor Doctor Spy. And it was the one where he was having daydreams. He programmed himself to have daydreams.
Right.
And you get to see a side of him that otherwise you hadn't seen before. But it also leads further into a development for his character where he becomes an emergency command hologram. And they do end up using that. and I think that was pretty cool. So you can serve dual function.
Well, and then something that I had said when we were talking previously about that episode is the natural progression of things. As much as we riff on Picard, you actually see like kind of an advancement of that episode in Picard, where you've got Captain Rios' ship is like full of holograms that serve
manned by holograms.
Serve all different purposes, and I think that's that you can see that like the logical progression of like Voyager gets back to Starfleet, and Starfleet's like, oh, you used your emergency medical hologram to do other things. Obviously, that's a good idea. Let's start implementing that.
Right, and even people that are like on in smaller areas might be able to like either program their own or buy packages for their ship,
We don't have money in the 24th century or whatever.
Dude, that's a whole
when we want to or when we don't want to. Yeah,
that's a whole episode of trying to explore what the monetary system
the
is.
Logistics, the economics of the 23rd and 24th century.
Or just watch a bunch of Lore Reloaded videos and he talks about
let
it
him
a
take
lot.
care of it.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Well, who's your doctor?
So this is probably going to be fairly unexpected, because it's the doctor that I would say that we've seen the least of so far. I picked Dr. Culber of Discovery.
Who the fuck is that?
He's Paul Stamets' husband, partner.
Oh, that's his name?
Yeah.
I didn't know what his name was.
Hugh Culbert, that's his name, Dr. Culbert.
Okay.
So yeah, and he's another character that's been resurrected. He was resurrected from the Mycelium Network. I don't think that you've seen that yet, have you? No, that happens in season 2. You probably don't remember it.
I was blacked out drunk during most of the time I was trying to watch Discovery.
He comes back through the power of love and the Mycelium Network. It's really contrived. And I think that the decision to bring him back was they killed him off, and I think that there was a lot of backlash from the fans. It seemed. I don't know if that's necessarily why it happened or if it was actually written.
Well,
into
from
the series
what little
before.
I've watched, I actually liked him as a character.
Yeah. So I was gonna say he's one of my favorite characters on Discovery. So. Yeah. Out of all the doctors in the series, I like him just slightly the most. I definitely like him more than any other character on Discovery.
That's not hard.
Yeah, I mean, Saru's a good character, but I think that I like Culber a little bit more. He's got really good bedside manner, and you can tell that he really cares about his patients.
That's pretty important.
And not just the patients that like have a direct link to him. Like you can see that he's got care in all of his patients. Discovery spent a lot of time on Michael Burnham so far, but the episodes that Culber has gotten to develop his character, he continues to become more likable in my book.
Okay,
so
that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
So not necessarily any favorite moments yet, because like I said, there isn't. We're fairly. His character hasn't developed a whole lot, but like I said, the moments that you see him in sickbay and the moments where he's actually doing his stuff and talking to people, I think he does really good.
So it's interesting. The engineer, and the doctor were the hardest for me to pick. They really, really were.
Mm-hmm.
And that's largely just not necessarily in engineer. It was mostly because of which ones I liked as characters. That's a tough one. Because I love Trip and I love Geordi and I love O'Brien. I chose O'Brien because it's practical and also because he is my favorite.
Yeah, I think that Science Officer and Wildcard were my last two picks that I had to think about for a while. But I feel pretty confident in my choices there. So.
When it comes to Doctor, I don't think there has ever been a bad Doctor. Not really. Bones is amazing. Not the best Doctor necessarily, but an incredible character. Beverly Crusher was an incredible character. Bashir, obviously, is a fantastic character.
I'm not a huge fan of the Doctor from Lower Decks.
I don't even know who... Oh, the cat?
The cat,
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus Christ. I don't care about Lower Decks.
I mean, you've got to include it, man. It's a Star Trek property, and it's technically canon now. So
yeah. And so in Enterprise, Dr. Phlox. I actually almost picked Dr. Phlox.
Yeah.
Just because, he's
xenobiologist. That was the other thing.
and-
I was going to say is that, like, for you, I would see Phlox being your only other choice besides the EMH, yeah.
I like all of them. That's a really tough one. But yeah, I thought Dr. Phlox would be a really good one just because of his perspective. and his really unorthodox way of approaching things I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
He also, when we're picking our ideal bridge crew, we're picking something that's just kind of like a big generic sort of thing. We're not putting them in a situation
Right.
like a Voyager situation or
we're
a
saying
standardized
like,
Federation.
just as a crew
Some
to like go
basic
out there
crew.
and be a ship. So
Right. To be applicable to like as many situations as possible.
Right.
So yeah, the Doctor one was really hard for me. Oh, dude, Dr. Agnes has got to be my favorite.
Oh shit, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot that she was a doctor.
Yeah,
Damn, she's not allowed on Team Girl Power though.
she's Dr. Kevorkian.
Dr. Kevorkian. God damn it, what was the other name for her? Augustus Gigolo.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Augustus
right. No,
Gigolo.
the Dr. Agnes on Picard. Her name is.
Dr. Augustus Gigolo Kevorkian.
That's right. Yeah, that's we renamed her that. I don't remember why, but we did.
I don't know, it was the first episode. I think we were pretty drunk. It just sounded good at the time. So anyway, that puts us to our last category, which was our wild card.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear who you picked and see if we picked the same one
I
again.
really hope we didn't pick the
I really
same
hope
one.
we didn't too.
Okay.
Go.
Garrick.
No, I didn't pick the same.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider him as a wild, but I guess it could just be anybody. Yeah. So
It could really be anybody, but I mean, the idea of a wild card was somebody that is a character, whether they're a main or a side character that has some sort of impact and that you think could be an asset.
you need somebody to refit the uniforms when they start to grow out of them, right?
Right. Well, he's a very accomplished tailor.
Yes, he is.
There's I purely picked Garrick on pragmatic reasons. In that Garrick is a spy. So when I'm looking at my list, we've got Janeway, Riker, Spock, Odo, and then also like O'Brien, and even the EMH to a certain point. Like these are people who are very strict and stringent in like their regulations and the way they operate. Tom Paris is a little bit of a wild card because he's kind of flight of fancy, but everybody can like smack him into place. But these are pretty rigid people. O'Brien is very creative, but he still operates within the boundaries of like protocol. So for a crew that's going to be as strict and stringent as this, you need somebody like Garrick. You do. A spy, ruthless, merciless, operates in the shadows.
Somebody that only reports to the captain, and the captain's
Exactly.
the only one that knows what's going on with him. I could see that.
And if you don't think Janeway would utilize Garrick,
she absolutely would.
She totally would.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
god.
that's a
totally
good
would.
a good wild card for your crew. Absolutely.
Yes.
So
I think Garrick works even better for Janeway than he did for Cisco.
yeah.
Which is interesting because the reason why I picked Garrick, I mean, there's lots of different reasons why I love Garrick. One of my favorite scenes with Garrick is, it's not the episode that I picked, but it's the one where he has to interrogate Odo. And he is just doing his duty because he's operating in pragmatism and even at one point just begging Odo to just lie so I can stop doing this to you. Like it shows like an interesting, I don't want to say humanity because it's Cardassianity. Or the episode where he has to overcome his claustrophobia to save the day. Like these are things that give him a sense of realness and
Personality,
personality.
yeah.
He's more than just this mustache twirling guy.
Exactly.
But my favorite episode with him is also one of my favorite episodes of DS9 and one of my favorite episodes of Trek ever, In the Pale Moonlight, which is where Cisco and Garrick collude in the shadows to lie in order to bring the Romulans into the Dominion War.
Yeah, that's a really good episode.
What is it? Commander Vreenak? Captain Vreenak?
I don't remember
Whatever it
names.
is. It's a fake. Yeah, so that's one of my absolute favorites, and it's so interesting too. So while Garrick is operating through the black market and getting these people to do this and do that, like at one point he even just kind of casually mentions that the dude that they use as a forger, that he just got rid of him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like
It's
it's
been
just
taken care of, Captain.
It's been taken care of. It's fine, and it's just cold. It's calculated, and it's effective.
Yeah.
And he's a charming character.
Good pick.
Yeah.
My wild card pick was 7 of 9.
I had a feeling it might be.
Yeah. So, and I want to preface this by saying 7 of 9 from Voyager, not from Picard.
Good. Good.
So I feel like they're two different characters.
Yeah.
I don't really feel, unfortunately, that the 7 of 9 that I saw in Picard is the natural continuation of the 7 of 9 that I met in Voyager. So, out of the multiple
You mean
reasons,
suicidal?
No, homicidal.
And suicidal?
She didn't kill herself.
No, but she talked about like putting a phaser to her head. Like,
did she?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
I guess
Oh,
she
it's
did.
so bad. Oh
Yeah,
man.
But anyway, out of the multiple reasons to pick 7, I think one of the best is because she's an unassimilated drone who's got experience with the Borg. And if you were ever in a situation where you had to confront them, I feel like she would be very invaluable.
Yes, 100%.
That she would increase your chances of survival by like thousands of percentage points. So another reason is she's an efficiency expert.
True.
On her time on Voyager, she updated multiple systems and found better ways of doing things, and I think that that's a good addition to the crew to have.
Yeah.
So some of my favorite moments with her are her learning her humanity.
Sure.
Because you really have that fish out of the water sense with her that, like, you know, she was assimilated so young that, like, she doesn't remember a whole lot of that, and she's got to rediscover who she is, and I think that she did a fantastic job of that. So.
I think she did too. Astrometrics.
Yes.
Like the astrometrics that they started using in Voyager was literally invented by 7 of 9.
Mm-hmm.
And I think B'Elanna, they worked on that together.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an incredible tool for sure. I just, the reason why I have some trouble with 7 of 9 sometimes is purely because of fan fiction.
Sure. I mean, you're going to have that with, like and a lot of that has to do with how they decided to dress her up in the show.
Yeah.
And again, I think that a lot of that had to do with, even back with the original series, they had like one woman on the bridge in a short skirt, and that drew fans in that were, looking for that kind of, fantasy, whatever.
Titillation,
yeah,
if you will.
So that's always been an element of Star Trek up until like maybe more recently. And she was definitely that purpose on that show. Not that purpose. She served that role on the show.
Yeah.
Which was served by Kes before her.
I guess so.
Kind of.
Well, Cass was just a repellent character. It's just terrible. And the thing is, like, I don't think it's fair necessarily to lump all of like the because there was kind of a boost in the ratings a little bit with Voyager once 7 of 9 came on, but I don't think it was just because like there's this stacked statuesque blonde,
right?
I don't think it was just that. It was because there was the Borg.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And people were definitely interested in that. But like I would definitely go so far as to say that like it helped bring in the teenage boy viewership for sure.
Sure. Yeah. So. I mean, yeah, I guess like as a wild card, improving your technology and that sort of thing and boosting efficiency. I agree.
Yeah. And I mean like that's something that, engineers can definitely do, but like she's shown time and again that she's pretty proficient at it. So
absolutely, yeah. Okay, so mine's subterfuge and yours is enhancement.
Yes.
Okay. I like it.
So
I like it. Let me look and see. Like man, you had a really good list.
So did you. I think,
not bad.
Yeah, I think that we both put a lot of thought and time into it, and.
Yeah. I guess they're like the more as I've run down my list. I think there are a few that maybe I might have adapted if I considered it a little bit longer. That like now after we've gone through this whole thing, I might have swapped out Odo for Worf. Because he's both security and tactical.
Yeah, just like Tuvok. Yeah.
Like I like. Don't get me wrong. I like Tuvok, but I think it'd be weird if I had 2 Vulcans on, unless I just go full Vulcan as much as possible. Yeah. Well, I think mostly just Odo. Maybe I would have switched Odo for Worf. But
yeah, don't second guess yourself. You got Odo.
Well, no, I'm just kind of like examining like my thoughts on it too. But then also you have the problem of like which Worf are you talking about?
Right.
Is it TNG Worf or is it DS9 Worf?
Right, because they're kind of 2 different people.
Yeah, they really are.
Or is it next gen movie Worf?
Definitely feeling some aggressive tendencies.
I actually almost kind of like that Worf better than the other 2.
Yeah, today is a good day to die.
Yeah. Because at least he was starting to kind of come out of his shell a little bit
Right.
and be less of a boner.
Yeah. So.
Yes, I called Worf a boner.
But anyway, so running down our list again, I had Captain Pike, First Officer Riker, Science Officer Jadzia Dax. My Security Tactical Officer was Tuvok. Helm was Tom Paris. Chief Engineer was Miles O'Brien. Dr. Hugh Colbert. And 7 of 9 was my wild card.
Okay. I had Captain Janeway, Riker as First Officer, Science Officer Spock. Tactical was Odo, or Security was Odo. Helm was Tom Paris, and Engineer O'Brien. We both had this in common. Doctor was the EMH from Voyager. Wildcard was Garrick. I had nobody from Enterprise, nor anybody from the new Trek.
Yeah. I didn't have anybody from Enterprise either. And in fact, I don't think I had anybody from the original series. Well, I guess Pike counts from the original series.
Yeah. I
so-
guess that would kind of count
Yeah.
for sure. Interesting.
Yeah, but I would say good lists. So
Yeah, not bad. I wanted to try and branch out and get somebody from everywhere, but like, it was tough, man.
yeah,
It was tough.
what we're doing is we're trying to put the best crew together, and you know, if
Sure.
if it works out the way that it works out, you know,
You know, the one that made me the most sad is I really wanted to. I wanted to try and get Mayweather in as my Helm, and they just, if you think they did Harry Kim dirty, they really did Mayweather and kind of Reed pretty dirty in
Yeah.
Enterprise. They never
Yeah.
really got a chance to shine.
sure.
So,
But they
yeah.
probably thought that they were going to have a few more. They probably thought they were going to get to season 7. So
Yeah, that didn't happen.
no. So
Okay.
well, anyway, so this has been episode 5 of Eject the Core. Thanks
Eject
for
the
hanging out with
Core.
us. So
Yeah, so if you want to see us in glorious video, go to our Patreon and drop $1. Yeah, and I think that's
if
pretty
you
much it.
if you become a top tier subscriber on Patreon, you get to find out what a slowy is.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
totally true. You can find out what a
So-
slowy is. And yeah, if you have any ideas of next episodes you'd like us to do, leave us a comment, please.
Yeah. Any ideas, any comments, anything that you agreed with or that you disagreed with, anything you liked or didn't like. And if you could, give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. That definitely helps us out. So,
I always forget that part.
yeah, like and subscribe. So,
All right. Have a good one, guys.
take care.
Eject the
Eject the core!